Jaymie. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for agreeing to let me interview you for the Discover Your Power channel so we can talk about Pride Month.
Okay. I'm excited. I'm
I'm
excited
so
for you.
excited too. Yes, welcome. The viewers don't know you, but I do, and I just want to share with everybody that we met. I don't even know how many years ago. It's been now maybe 4. And it was at Florida Hospital when we were both working together. And I've never lost touch with you. We've stayed in contact since then. So can you just tell everybody your name and what you do for a living and a little bit about you?
Awesome. Yep, I sure can. So my name is Jaymie Hinton. A little bit about me. I'm actually from New Jersey, so I'm a Jersey girl. But I was in the military for 6 years. I was in the U.S. Navy. So I just traveled all over the world and things like that. My trade was in the military as a chef, and that's actually what I do outside of my day-to-day job. As of right now, I work for Quest Diagnostics in talent acquisition. And then I also own several businesses. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I believe in you gotta have your hands in a little bit of different things just because nothing is 100%, nothing is guaranteed. Uh,
Yeah.
I actually own a personal chef business where I do private chef things as far as cooking for clients, meal preps, catering for birthday parties, whatever my clients may need. And then I just actually launched a business called Live Your Truth. And it derived from, my friend Paul, which he was one of the 49 that was killed in the post massacre. And in his life, I found that he was not living his truth. And there's so many people that don't live their truth day to day, whether you're straight, whether you're gay, whether you're not happy in your career. My motto is live your truth no matter what it is. Be authentic to who you are and make yourself happy first.
Yes, I call that authentic living. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So outside of that, so I do life coaching, business consultation, and me and my wife actually own that together as well. And she's coming out with some things for Live Your Truth that I'm super excited. She has
Amazing.
Yes, yes. She's come on the bandwagon. I also have a 14-year-old son, and he'll be starting 10th grade next year. So I'm a mom as well. So I wear many different hats,
Yes, you
365 days
do.
a year. But I'm always pushing myself, always trying different things. I'm very open-minded. Will try anything once as long as it's legal. And I just love life. I just
Yeah.
love life. I love whatever life has to offer me.
Thank you for sharing all of that. When I met you, you shared that with me about the tragedy that happened with your friend, and
Hmm.
to see that years later you opened up your business as a chef, and you also shared with me that the tragedy that you saw that your friend went through at Pulse, um, it really made you want to begin helping people that are part of the LGBTQ community.
Hmm.
And the reason why I reached out to you to do this interview is for several reasons. The situation that happened at Pulse, you refer to it as a massacre, and it's crazy that that happened in my hometown, right down the street from my home.
Hmm.
And it touched so many people here in Orlando in such a tragic way. And the fact that today is the anniversary of Pulse, and we had scheduled this interview for today, it didn't even dawn on me. And you had mentioned that to me, that you almost wanted to reschedule. And I just want to I just want to say that I believe that it's confirmation that me and you should be talking today, because
Absolutely.
the fact that I remembered that that happened to you, the fact that it happened to your best friend, and we scheduled the interview for today. So many synchronicities are aligning, and I just want to applaud you for, one, pursuing your passions to help other people in the LGBTQ community, and two, for sharing, for being open and strong enough to share your story. Because when people go through tragedy, sometimes they're not ready to share. And I believe that when you begin to share and you begin to step into who you are authentically, that's when you begin to heal. And that's really when you begin to touch the lives of other people and help other people. So from coach to coach, person to person, friend to friend, I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate you for letting me even have this opportunity. You know, a lot of people, I really don't speak a lot about in depth about what happened that night, but I was supposed to be in there. I was actually in there the night before. And, you know, me and Paul had swap nights because I was visiting from Atlanta. I was living in Atlanta at the time. And that's actually where I met him 5 years ago. I was in the club by myself and he came up to me and he said, "What is a pretty chocolate girl like you doing in the club by yourself?" Because he was just that type of a person. And we exchanged numbers, and I was just coming from a breakup myself at that time. And we wrote each other's numbers on a piece of paper. And the crazy thing about it is I had ended up losing the receipt. And I was like, oh my God, I wish that he calls me, because I'm not the type of person to just meet people and like we're like best friends. Like I'm like, I gotta fill you out a little bit. I gotta
time.
But I talked to this man every single day. We would talk every day. At that time, I was working for Wyndham. I had just got my real estate license and things like that. And I was in the real estate and still finishing school. And we would have to be to work at the same time in the morning, which is 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So nobody was up. Yes. So it would just be me and him just talking. He was so anointed. And the thing is that that's one of the things that I tell people, because I knew of him. I knew of his life, but he also hid so much for me. Like, I did not even know that he was a kid prodigy. I didn't know that he was a preacher. And this is my best friend, but this is how ashamed of who he was that he would not talk because he didn't want to let his mother down. So I saw that it's like he was so happy and bubbly, the life of the party. But at the end of the day, what I found out in his death is that my friend was actually truly suffering.
Yeah.
Suffering, you know, so. And the crazy thing about it is, like I said, and then his life ended where that's where he didn't want anybody to find out that that's where he was on Fridays and Saturdays, you know? So for me, it's a bittersweet thing, because that night that everything happened, like I said, I was in there the night before and everybody thought that I was actually in there. I woke up to over 300 missed calls, emails, text messages, because people were trying to get in contact with me. And it took me almost about 3 days to find out that he had passed away, because they wasn't letting any information out except to his family. And it's, you know, I have guilt, you know, some of me has guilt, because I'm like, maybe if I would have called him and said, hey, come with me, or just, I had to go to counseling for like almost 6 months for this, because, you know, I was like, God, why me? You know, then it's like, I have a son, but he also has, you know, children too. It was just a lot, you know, so even now I'm still healing from it. And, you know, what I had to realize, and I think last night when I was speaking to my wife, I said, you know what, I will never 100% get over this, because every year I will be reminded of this. So now I'm just trying to take everything and turn it into positivity versus getting sad and crying, you know, and things like that. I'm trying to shift the energy.
How were you able to discover your power to shift your energy and to turn such a hurtful situation into something more positive?
Well, not only for Paul, but I also read the other 48 people that passed away as well. There was one person that stuck out to me so much, where he was Puerto Rican. I don't remember his name, but his dad found out that he was gay, and they would not fly his body back to Puerto Rico. His family would not accept because he was gay. Then my wife, to be very honest with you, I'm not going to say she was in a closet, but she was raised in a spiritual manner, just like Paul. And she said after meeting me that she was like, you know, you don't care about nothing. You just live your life. And I'm like, because I take care of me at the end of the day. I can't call nobody and say, hey, can you pay my rent? Can you pay my mortgage? I can't do that. Yeah. You know, so for me, listening to my wife's story, listening to the other 48, and definitely listening to Paul, there's so many people that live like this, that are just so unhappy and can't live their truth because they're scared of the ridicule that they'll get from their family, their friends,
Right.
things like that. And I just really wanted to turn it around and just say, you know what, be who you truly are. Make yourself happy first, because once you make yourself happy first, sooner or later, everybody's going to start following in your footsteps.
Yes. And I say this continually because I think that, from coach to coach, I coach people in different areas, but one of the things that I focus on when it comes to people is helping them live authentically, because for so long I felt like I wasn't living authentically. I wasn't, that wasn't even in my mind to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't living authentically with what I was doing for a living. And I was hiding the hurt that I had not being in a career that I loved, and also not talking about my difficulties and obstacles with lupus.
Right.
And the moment that I started to share the good days that I had while I was with lupus, and most importantly, those days that I was struggling or in pain, and that's when I began to heal. And kind of similar to what you said, you're always gonna, feel this hurt and pain. I kind of relate that to the obstacles that I go through with lupus. I have good days and I have bad days, but the days that I have that are harder for me, when I reach out to the people in my lupus community and I share with them, or even if I'm supporting another person that has lupus or that's in pain, it helps me. And so when I began to do that full time, to coach people and to help people, whether it was to live authentically and transition to a career that they love, or help people overcome their obstacles with lupus, it helped me to be a better person and live authentically, and just realize this is something that I feel like is part of my purpose and I need to do. I can really relate to what you said, and I applaud you. And, when it comes to that, you mentioned a couple things that people in the LGBTQ community go through, such as not being able to share with their family that they may be that they may not be straight. And so I want to ask you, what are some of the difficulties that you have experienced that you had to discover your power and overcome to live your truth?
I think I'm a very outgoing person, but I'm also can be very shy.
Especially when you can be shy?
I can be very shy, especially when it comes to my personal life. Okay. I let people know what they need to know. Like, I could be going through it one day. You would never know it unless I'd be like, girl, I had a bad day. Let's go get some wine or something like that. But I guess for me, believing in myself, for one, believing in myself and knowing that I had a voice and that I wasn't the only one, meaning single Black woman at the time, and I don't want everybody to think about race, but it is something that's out there. So being a single Black woman, being a lesbian, trying to climb the corporate ladder, things like that, people look at you, people question that about you. And I think for me is once I started finding my voice and not feeling that I was alone, and also networking with different people that had the same likes as me and wanted to do the same things as me, it made it a whole lot easier. Overcoming obstacles, I think I've gotten better at them, where I know how to figure out what's important and what's not. Yeah. Where, like, I think I told you, like, when I was in the military, the biggest obstacle back then was the don't ask, don't tell policy. At that time, I had a girlfriend, in the military when I first got in, and if they even found out, or if you said they were throwing you out of the military. So we really had to live our lives without saying anything, even though we were together. I think for me, that was the biggest obstacle, because I was on a ship for 4 years and really had to keep my personal life. I couldn't even be happy, but thank God, the LGBTQ route, they voted and things like that. And we had a remarkable president that changed things. So now you can have a wife. Now you can have a husband. Now you can be openly gay in the military and they still get the same benefits as a straight couple. So I believe when I started in 1999, yes, the world has totally changed.
And this change took place, correct me if I'm wrong, under President Obama.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank the Lord, right?
Yes. So
thank you for bringing that up and for sharing that. It's a tragedy that you go to work every day and you're serving the country, but you can't really live authentically. And I didn't even picture the fact that you were in the Navy. So even when you're off the clock, you're still on the ship. Mm-hmm. So even outside of work, you're still in your work environment because you're in the Navy, you're on a ship.
Yeah.
So even in your personal time, you weren't even really able to enjoy it and be free to be yourself.
No, unless we would just get hotel rooms, like when we were off or if we were on the same schedule, and just go get a hotel room and just, spend the weekend together, spend our time off together. Some days I'll be working all day and I would just wait for her in the hotel until, she got off. I mean, that's how, we had to do things back then. I mean, even now being married, you still get people where if you're holding hands, they look at you. I mean, we still get that now, but I'm like, I don't care. I'm married. It's a free country. I'm gonna do what I want,
Good
but
for
it
you.
took me a long time to get that way. It wasn't something that was done overnight.
Well, so. Tell me this, there are still people that I will say are ignorant to the LGBTQ community. Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have when it comes to your community?
One for sure is that it's a choice. That we wake up and say, hey, we want to be gay today. No, that's not the truth. Nowadays, you have kids that I'm flabbergasted by that know by 4 or 5 that they're want to be a girl or want to be the opposite sex. So I think that is the biggest thing. Or like gender roles, like, if in a lesbian relationship, if one person dressed masculine, that means that they're like the man in the relationship. Oh. And that, especially in mine, I'll just put that, it's so far from the truth because my wife is a sweetheart. Yeah. She's a sweetheart, but just because she, dresses in her little shorts or whatever, doesn't like dresses, she just doesn't like dresses, but she is more girlier than me, when it comes to certain things. I still wear Timbs and stuff like that, but people think because I wear dresses and things like that, that it's this gender role thing, or who takes out the trash, or, who pays all the bills, and do I not work? And I'm like, I'm not the type of person that's not going to sit at home and say, oh, you can do this and do that. I'm working. Right. So I think those are the two biggest misconceptions, where it's a choice in the roles in the relationship. You make what you want to make out of your relationship. Now they have 2 dominant women in relationships. They have 2 feminine women in relationships. It doesn't matter. It's whatever makes you happy.
Thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Another thing that I think is a big, maybe it's not a misconception, maybe it's more of a stigma, it's discrimination, is that people that are 2 women or 2 men that are either in a relationship or married cannot raise children or shouldn't raise children. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you shared that your friend Paul was a parent and you are a mother, a beautiful son. Can you talk to me more? Yes, you're welcome. Can you talk to me more about being a mother in the LGBTQ community?
Absolutely. I will say this. I think for me, it's been a little bit easier because my son has never seen me with a man, period, since he's been in this world. Yep, he's never seen me with a man. And, we've had conversations. He's like, a few years ago, this is before I met my wife and things like that. He was like, Mom, why just can't you be with a guy? And I had to break it down to him like, Jaden, I'm just not attracted to men. They really don't do anything for me, things like that. And I think I raised my son to be open-minded enough to, to get it, because I also explained to him that you're still young. You may think that you may want to be, with a female and things like that, but things can change. I don't know. I was like, I don't wish gay being on anyone. However, things could happen. You just don't know. And so for me, I will say this: when it comes to like the sports aspect of things and just like showing him, I guess, how to be a male, a Black African American male in this world, it's been a little bit tough because I feel like, I have the basics of it, but I've never had to walk in those shoes.
Right.
So I will say this: my wife really has came in and helped me a lot because she's into the sports. She kind of gets how, men think, girl, I don't know nothing about football. I be saying the wrong thing. She cracks up. They both make jokes about me.
Yeah.
So
like, and then it's like, no, touchdown, mom.
Exactly. I be saying field when I'm supposed to be saying court. It's just, it's just a mess. So I've actually learned a lot of things, from her as well. I will say this, that it's not that way, obviously with every parent, everybody has their own story. But I think just for me, because my son has never seen me with a male, it's been a whole lot easier. But he does have questions. So I just try to make sure I'm very transparent with him. When it comes to everything, we have an open line of communication. I think that when you set those things up, it makes things a little bit better. But now he goes to school and tells her he has 2 moms. Everybody always wants to come over our house.
Aww, you guys are the cool moms.
Yeah, we're the cool moms. And it's like, even now, and I was like, I think that you're the mom because if something happens, he'll go to my wife first before he'll go to me. So they're like best friends, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I be feeling the type of way sometimes. I'm like, man, I was here first. But as long as he's telling somebody that he trusts, loves, I'm definitely okay with it. So
you know what? That's amazing. I applaud you for being transparent with your son. It's hard for people to have those difficult conversations sometimes, but then when you actually have the conversation, it's like, you know what? That wasn't that bad. And I think as a parent, you did a good job of bringing some ease to the conversation. You mentioned the word transparency, and I think that the more transparent you are and approach it in a way that it's okay, that it makes that conversation that could be difficult or awkward to be so much better.
Absolutely.
So good for you. What are some of the favorite or your favorite things about the LGBTQ community?
I love how, we come together, especially, for like the Pride events. I feel like there's a sense of family. I love the equality. I love how you're accepted, whether you're born in this world as a man and then want to, turn into a woman, things like that. I love how that, you're not looked down upon. It's really a sense of community. And it makes it more comfortable to be a part of something because you have somewhere to, you have someone to talk to, whether it's age or color or whatever the case is, there's always somebody rallying for you, So I just love the sense of community, to be very honest with you.
I love that you said that because when I finally started to live authentically and not be scared about talking about my lupus, I started to open myself up to the lupus community. And I realized how amazing it is and how everyone's so supportive. And tell me if you think it's the same with the LGBTQ community. Is the lupus community rallies together because at a certain point in time, there were so few of us. We only had each other. Whenever you found somebody else that had lupus too, you were like, oh my God, you have lupus. Let's exchange numbers. Like,
absolutely.
Get to know each other. Let's be there for each other. And unfortunately, our community has grown because more and more people are getting diagnosed. But the fortunate part about that is that the love and the support has grown also. Do you feel like that with the LGBTQ community?
Yes, I feel like every day we stand stronger and stronger on one united front. Yeah. I'll definitely be honest with you. Yes, absolutely. And once there's a saying called family, like if you was like, oh, I'm gay, they were like, oh, child, you family? Yeah. And then once you say that, everybody's one big family. So, we definitely have our own lingo and things of that nature. But I think once it's just out there that you are part of this LGBTQ, that you just turn into family. It doesn't matter what you are, what you're doing, where you're at. You could be across the country.
Yeah,
The sense
I
of
love
community.
that. What would be something that you would want to share with anyone that is struggling to, like you say, live in their truth or live authentically? What would you share to help them discover their power to overcome their obstacles like you've learned how to do?
I would say that they have to start with self first.
Yeah.
Start with yourself first. And then I would definitely reach out to somebody who can help them along the way, where we can sit and talk about what your struggles are, how we can overcome them, and then come up with a plan.
Yeah.
Because I think that is the best route to go, because what happens is at the end of the day, you're just wasting time when you can truly be living your authentic self today.
Amen. I applaud you, Coach. And I say that, from, again, coach to coach, I get that. And sometimes it just takes someone, whether it is a coach or a family or friend, whoever, that can relate to what you're going through. And a good coach is somebody that can relate to their clients.
Absolutely. My favorite thing right now, and I haven't really talked about this, but right now I actually volunteer weekly at Youth Time Out here in Charlotte.
Okay.
And it's for children who don't have a place to go, or they're not out to their family. So this community, they can go and be whoever they want to be. But then when they go back home, they may have to be Sarah, even though in the community they may be called James. So for me, where children are noticing who they are and want to be somewhere where they're comfortable, that is what I love right now, because I'm helping making a difference. And I'm starting out young, not as an adult. These children want to learn. They want to have somebody they can talk to. They want to see somebody who looks like them.
Yes.
So for me, that is what I love right now. I love it because, again, I'm making a change, and I love that they call me Auntie Jaymie. And I've been going there since January, but I go there every Tuesday, and I also cook for them as well, at least one time out of the month. So for me, giving back, and that's something that the LGBTQ is big on, is giving back. So that's what I love about the LGBTQ, just giving back and being a part of a family.
Yes, that's awesome. That is so awesome. Very cool of you, Auntie Jaymie.
Yeah, that's like Auntie Jaymie, and I was like, hey, everybody. So yeah, I love it. I just love the smiles on their face when I come there, that they remember me because other volunteers are there, and things like that. So just to be able to make an impact like that on such impressionable youth, it's an amazing thing.
So this is a really important question. Why is it important to celebrate Pride Month?
Why is it important? It's a celebration of back when in 1969, there was basically a brawl that happened in New York. What is that area? I can't even think of the area, but it happened in New York, and basically it just came to a point where, it was about the LGBT community. And from there, after this brawl and this fight, they turned it into Pride Month. And from that day forward, just every June has been Pride Month. And before, to me, like even 10 years ago, they used to have things like a little bit more separated. But now, like even Orlando has like 2 different prides. They have one at the beginning. Okay. That's like the week of June 5th through something else, through the 12th actually. Well, last week, and then they have another time and I believe in August. And like Disney now is a part of it. I mean, it's just like now everybody is like realizing that what Pride means, And so everybody's coming together, again, a sense of community. Everybody has come together to realize like June is really the Pride Month, even though before they used to have everything like a little bit separated. But I think the more people are, are more knowledgeable. I mean, even I see companies now that have changed their logos with the Pride colors.
Yes.
Like
even
major companies.
Instagram. If you see Instagram and you do the hashtag Pride or Pride Month, see the colors.
The colors. I mean, I've even seen it on LinkedIn, and I'm like, wow. I mean, I just really feel the awareness is amazing. I love it.
And for me, I think that it's important because we have to acknowledge diversity, support it, celebrate it, and if we do that, then that leads to equality.
Absolutely.
And everybody deserves equality, respect, love, support, acknowledgement.
Absolutely.
So, I want to thank you for sharing your time, sharing how you've been able to discover your power to live your truth, to live authentically, to help others, and even to begin to share your story and share Paul's story, because unfortunately he wasn't able to do it. But, you asked that question, God, why me? And maybe it's why you, because you need to share that story for Paul and for yourself and for everybody else that is struggling to live their truth and discover their power to be who they are. So I think I strongly, strongly believe that with all of my heart. I love everything that you're doing in your community. And I want to support you in any way that I can. I will be posting on the bottom in the links below, I will post a link to your chef business.
Okay.
What is it called?
It's called the Cookery Nook.
Cookery Nook. I love that. Catchy names. Catchy names.
Thank you.
And also to your coaching business, Live Your Truth, so people can find you.
Yeah. .net. And I do have another surprise that's coming up in September. I don't know if I should release it, but it is called Latryst. It's a romance concierge services for the LGBTQ and really for people who need help on their first dates, a private chef.
Oh my God.
A romantic night at home, a bubbles and bath. They just want to have Valentine's Day early. So actually that is what my location will be being opened up. August 1st, I actually open the doors and I will have a launch September 15th for it.
Okay. So. Well, this video is going to be posted on YouTube, so I can add the link in so people can find that as well. I think that's an amazing business.
Thank you. Yes, and we'll be able to travel. So, if anybody, needs some help down there in Orlando, just call me and I will definitely travel down there.
Okay, that is so wonderful. It has been a pleasure connecting with you. Thank you so much, Jaymie.